Hello and welcome to the second session of Spreadsheets. We're going to move on today to mainly concentrate on formulas. First of all, I'm going to do a quick recap of last week's session, just for a few minutes. There should be a link on the screen around now if you want to click and watch the full spreadsheet session from last week. So basically what we were concentrating on last time was we did a general introduction to spreadsheets, specifically Excel, although a lot of these things are common across other versions of spreadsheet software. So we looked at opening and closing different file menus. We had a quick look at the different tool menus across here, the different toolbars. We then went on and we spent quite a bit of time looking at borders and shadings. And so the idea was that using these two buttons here, we can customize how something looks. So I draw a selection, I press the fill button, and it fills that selection in with the color. I can select as small as one cell, or I can select, I can just drag and select a huge area, like that. Okay, I'm going to undo that one. I'm going to use, so we also undo something else we looked at. We've got the undo button here. So undo removes the last thing you've done, and the opposite of undo was redo. So redo can be thought of, if you accidentally press undo, then you press redo to redo something. So we've got undo, which removes things, and redo, which is in case you accidentally, you can go back quite a long way with undo, so it's in case you overclick. Okay, I'm just going to, now one of the interesting things here is if I take this and I add a white format, you know, if I say no fill, it just goes back to how it was. So, and another way you can do it is you can select an area, go up to edit and choose clear, and then very specifically formatting. So that was something else we concentrated on a little bit last week. So when we clear formatting, it clears all the things to do with, so for example, let me just quickly, I'll draw a thick box so we can see a thicker black line. You don't actually ever see one on the first column. A little bit of a bug really, I think, there, but you don't see one there. If I was to draw a smaller box just underneath and click on the box, so then we get a border all the way around, and this is the thick border. I can select inside it, and I'll maybe choose the one next to it. So this is thick border. To the left of it, we've got outside border, and then we can see a much thinner black line. I could also select all of that, and I can choose all borders. Notice that the thick border has now disappeared. Okay, so anytime you do something over the top, so if, for example, if I select a row down here and I come over and I choose thin borders, then this edge that was previously a thick border has now been overwritten with the latest command and given it a thin border. And we can fill these things in with a variety of different colours, and we concentrated on this a lot last week. I'm going to hold down the control key, which enables me to select other bits, other cells I should say, not bits. And then holding down the control key just allows you to select areas quicker. I'll just show you what I mean by that. So if I wanted to select this row, if I then just click on the row below it, it deselects the first thing I've selected. So here's one row selected. The way I select multiple things at once is I hold down the control key, which is the key that actually says CTRL on your keyboard. It's abbreviated to CTRL, but it's actually control. And I click and hold on the control key. I can then drag over another selection. So I can highlight more than one cell at a time that's not concurrent, not joined to it, and then I can simply choose to colour in that cell or all the borders of those cells. Okay, so it's just a quicker way of doing it by holding down the control key. So hopefully by now you've looked at the spreadsheet assignment. And one of the main questions that people often have is what to create a spreadsheet around. And it's really up to you. What we're concerned with is not necessarily the data so much. You know, the data can be anything. So you could, you know, I believe you all have vending machines. You can do something about the amount of money in vending machines from different machines. You can look at different bedside units, maybe do graphs by, not graphs, charts by wards, and see if they're broken, how many have got working, how many you've got in total in each ward. You can do how much money the site has collected over different days. So there's a whole variety of different things you can graph. You can create a spreadsheet from. I don't know why I keep saying graph, although graphs are part of it. So yeah, it really is this idea. And you can even take a spreadsheet. You can take the data from other spreadsheets. Of course, you're not allowed to copy any other spreadsheets, but you could take the initial data, format that all yourself, and devise your own formulas around that. And that's not a problem. Of course, you can't duplicate any other material. So I'm just going to clear what I've done here. So this is all these things. There's no numbers here. In fact, I'm just going to put a number here just for the purpose of demonstrating this next little thing. It's just a quick recap of what I even mentioned earlier on. I'm going to select this whole area, and I'm going to go up to File, Edit. Choose Fill, choose Clear. It's one of those mornings, and I'm going to clear Formats. So clearing formatting. All that will be left after I've done that is the number 25. Okay. And there we go. So clearing formatting removes all of the borders, all of the different colorings, and then I'm just going to click on the 25 and hit delete. So today's training is around the idea of formulas. That's the heart of what we're going to cover today, and that's really what spreadsheets, a lot of what they're about. Otherwise, they're just lists of information, and this is the ability to start manipulating that information, to start doing basic. We're going to start with some basic sort of additions, multiplications. So let's look at that in a. So the most important thing to always take away with you is that all formulas start with a certain key press. That's the way we tell Excel that we're about to do a formula, and the key that we're going to press is the equals key. So Excel now knows that the contents of this cell that is displayed is going to equal whatever I now type in. And I think last week I did show you a very basic one. So we're going to do 2 plus 3. So and we're in cell, this cell would be called A26 because we're in column A and we're in row 26. So we're in cell A26, and so cell A26 is now going to equal 2 plus 3. And when I press return, or the enter key, it now shows me 5. And I can come up to the formula bar at the top of the screen, and the formula bar will show me the formula, and the cell A26 shows me the result of that formula, because that cell equals 2 plus 3. Okay? So that's a very, very easy one, and let's go with another easy one. So I'm just going to delete the 2 plus 3, and let's do 10 minus 4, and then we're left with 6. So plus and addition and subtraction exactly as you would expect them to be. Let's do multiplication. So how do we do multiplication? So let's do 10 times 4. I'm going to change this to the multiply sign. Now when we were at school, the multiply sign used to be X. That's how we used to do it. But that's a letter here, and it's not how we're going to do it. What we use is the star key, okay, which is above 8 on my computer, Shift 8. So it looks like the X, it looks like the times symbol, you know. So we're saying 10 times 4. So when I press return, we now see 40. So that's, again, I think we're all okay with that. So the only slight jump here is that we're changing an icon that we're used to the star, but it's still pretty close. So let's now look at divide. Okay, so let's do 12 divided by. Now divide is the / symbol. Okay, and you can remember, if you used to think when you were at school and you would write out your division, then you would do that slash, wouldn't you? And then you'd have a long bit that goes across the top, and the answer would be written up there. And if I press return, we get the answer 3. So 12 divided by that /4. Now you may be wondering, you know, there's a good little reference to remember these multiplication. And if you've got a numeric pad on your computer, okay, a lot of keyboards do. So if you've got a numeric keypad at the end, then if you look around the edge of that keypad, you will almost certainly see the plus, the minus, the star, and the slash key. And I've got an equals key on mine as well. And so that's a nice quick way of being able to input. So you know, we're in a mathematical environment here, and so we can look at the end of the keypad, and at the end of the keypad are those symbols. So that's divide by as well. So 12 divided by 4 gives us the answer in A26. So now we're going to go on and we're going to do exactly the same sums again. Maybe not all of them, but we're going to use a different concept now. So here I'm going to write the number 2, and here I'm going to write the number 3. And this is a far more common thing that you'll come across when you're using spreadsheets, is that we sort of do it one step removed. So equals 2 plus 3. I'll leave that in that column there. And in this column here, I'm going to do the same sum, but this time I'm not going to write the numbers out. I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to use the cell references. I'm just going to add this cell, A23 and A24. So I'm going to say, just like I did, so before I did 2 plus 3, this time I'm going to say A23, and look what happens. A blue box appears around the cell we're talking about. And so we're like, yep, I'm looking at that and I'm like, good times, that's the right box. I'm going to press the plus button, and then I'm going to put in my next one, which I don't think is going to be any surprise. It's going to be A24. A24, and we'll get a different colour box appear. We've got a green box appear there, and you can see that the colour of the text inside the formula, the blue A23 refers to the blue box around the number 2, and the green A24 refers to the green box around the number 3. And I'm going to press return. And so here we go. So look, this formula is just written out normally. 2 plus 3. This one gives exactly the same result, but instead of typing in the numbers, I'm just referring to the cells that hold those numbers. Okay? So let's do that one more time. Oh no. Let's see let's see the beauty of Excel. Now watch this. It turns out that it wasn't 2 plus 3 that I wanted to do. It was 3 plus 3. And I'm like, I've made, you know, imagine you've done a whole load of data and you've typed the wrong number in somewhere. Now if you've done it all like this, then you're in trouble, because you've sort of written all your formulas as 2 plus 3. You need to go in wherever that formula exists, and you need to manually go in, and you need to say, well actually this should be 3 plus 3, and change that to a 3 and press return. But if I watch what happens when I change this to, now remember that this formula here, the formula that's in B25, just refers to these 2 cells, and this formula is what's known as live. So if I change the contents of one of these cells, the result will change straight away. So if I change this to a 3 and press return, look at that. The spreadsheet automatically, it's always looking to see if anything changes, and if anything changes, it says, is anything in this? Is this used in a formula? And when it is used in a formula, straight away it changes the answer. So we can begin to see the power of this. I've written a formula here that adds these 2 cells together, whatever the contents of these cells are. You know, look at that. Boom, boom. Yeah? On the spot, on the fly, live updating. Okay? So that's really powerful. All right? So let's do a subtraction formula. So I've now got 121,654 in A25. So I'm going to do a formula. So what do I start with? I always start with equals. And I'm going to say A24, because that's the bigger number. And we see I get that blue, I get that representation that lets me know, yes, I'm spot on. And from that, I'm going to subtract the one above it, A23. And I get the green box. And there we are. So if you were ever wondering what 121,654 subtract 12,354 is, it is of course 109,300, which I think we all knew, but it's nice that the spreadsheet just proves us right. Okay, so let's move on. Let's do a multiplication. So again, we're going to say equals because we're starting a formula, and we're going to say A24. Again, we get the blues. I'm going to do times. What's the times symbol? The times is the star. I'm coming over to my numeric keypad and I'm pressing the star key, although Shift 8 would also do the same thing. And then I'm going to do A23. And there, whoa, that's a big number. I'm not even going to attempt to read that out in case I get my noughts in the wrong place. And then lastly, let's do divide, which is going to make a big hash of this, but let's see what number it comes out. So I'm going to do equals A24 divided by A23, and have we got any idea? I reckon 10-ish. Oh, 9.8, that wasn't bad. So there we go. So we can see that we've got the divide sign here, which is the slash. If I move to the formula, we've got the multiply, we've got the minus, and we've got the plus. And now the real beauty is we're referring to these two cells the whole way. One of these cells changes from 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. I think it'd be nicer if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit return, and all those numbers just changed. Okay, every one, and that's the power of spreadsheets. When you set up these formulas, and then you need to change something, you know, it could be the VAT rate changing. And if you if you just pointed all the time, if you've typed 17.5% in, you know, in the old days, and then it changes to 20%, you need to go through every single formula and change every single formula. If you've just always said, well, VAT is just here in this cell here, and it's 17.5%, and then one day that formula, the VAT, you know, the banks go belly up, and we have to pay out billions of pounds. And we just change that to 20%, then straight away all our formulas will change. Just like here, if this should be really 150,000, all our formulas change instantly. We don't have to do any more work. So, and it's no real more work setting it up. You know, it's just as easy to type in a cell reference as it is to type in the number. In fact, you could even argue that typing in and I can click on the formula. And when I click on the formula, by the way, it highlights the colours again. And you could easily argue that it's easier to type in A24 than it is to type in 150,000. It's certainly only 3 characters to type in versus 6 characters. So a lot to be said for that. So that's great. So, but we don't want to stop there. I want to show you an even easier, in some ways, way of creating a formula. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight all these cells because I don't want any of the information in these cells, and I'm just going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. And I'm just going to I'm going to do a nice simple back to simple math. I'm going to put 2 in box A23, and I'm going to put a 3 in box A24, and then right down here, this is where I want my formula to be. And I'm just going to do the add formula again, but I'm just going to do it in a slightly different way this time. Exactly the same result, but just watch how I build it this time. So I'm going to start a formula, so what do? I press equals. And now, here's a really nice thing. I can use the mouse, and I'm going to say, well, what do I want to do? I want to add this cell, and I'm not clicking on it yet, but I will in a second. I'm going to add A23 to A24. So equals, so I've done the equals, I click, and it fills in automatically A23. Well, what do I want to do with A23? I want to add A23. What do I want to add it to? I want to add it to A24. And I click on it again, and I press return, and I get the number 5. So I didn't even have to write A23 plus A24. I just clicked. All right? Let's do that with subtraction. So watch how quickly you can build something up here. Equals A24 minus A23. Job done. Really nice and quick. A quick, very quick method of building formulas. And it might even seem like a bit of extra hassle having to move the mouse. And at this stage, when you've got these tiny, tiny formulas, it is. But trust me, later on, when you've got much bigger formulas, then it makes life so much easier having, you know, the ability to click. And you don't have to do it. You can always type them in manually. But, you know, let's do the multiplication. How do we start? We always start with equals. Or let's say 3. Let's times. And let's say that one. And there we go. Okay, so the same principle. You can either type the cell reference in yourself. Okay. Or you can click on it with the mouse and it will put it in. Okay. So you may be wondering why we've been working sort of, I'm sure the astute among you will have noticed that we've been working on these lower down rows, you know, 23, A23, A24, these lower down cells and rows. So I'm just going to select those and hit delete. And the reason is because up above, I didn't want to come to this yet, but up above we've got the monthly outgoings that we worked on last year. And what I want to do is I'm going to write a little formula now. And I'm going to write a formula to add up all my expenses for January, and I'm going to put it in this cell B17. Okay, and B17, you know, you could logically assume it says monthly totals there to the side. Okay, so let's write this formula out, and this is just exactly the same formula that we've previously done, but we're going to take it a little bit further. Now, there is no council tax. Okay, they don't pay any council tax in the first few months. But I'm actually going to I'm going to add the cell with council tax in. Now in fact, let's just live wild. Let's imagine that they do have council tax in that month. Okay, honestly it doesn't matter, but you might wonder why something's going on. There we go. I'm just going to, just for the first month, I want everything in here, and it'll just make sense in a second. So let's add all these up, okay? So how do we go about doing this? So I want the monthly total to appear down here, okay? So let's have a go. Equals. Now I'm going to do this, I'll do a mixture actually, just to show that we can. So what's the first one that we have to do? Well, let's click the mouse on the first one. B3, all right? Plus. And what you can really start doing this quite fast. So I press the plus key, and then I can click on B4, press plus, B5, press plus, B6, press plus, B7, press plus, B8, press plus, B9, and let's type in the rest of them. Not for any reason, just to show that we can still do it. So we can do a mixture, plus B10, plus B11. Notice it's not case sensitive. I can do lowercase b's, plus B12. The formula's getting so long now it drops down to a vertical display of it. Plus B13, it is actually much easier clicking, I'm realising. Plus I just wrote 13. That's here, it's much easier clicking. Plus B14, plus B15. So hopefully, what are we saying? We're just saying add them all up. Add the B3s to B4s all the way down to the B15s. And I press return. And I get £598.68. And if we look up to the formula at the top of the screen, I can click on it. Notice that they've only got a certain number of colours. How many have they got? They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like they've got 7 different colours, and then they start looping around the blue, the green, the purple, the blue, the green. So yeah, they've got 7 different colours. But there we go. Now I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, what a faff. Because, you know, that's not particularly an efficient way of doing it, but it does work. Okay, so I just wanted you to see that, you know, at the most basic level, we can just add each cell up. Okay, and there, of course, there is a quicker way of doing it. It would be a bit of a nightmare if that was the way to do it. So let's have a look at the faster way of doing it. Okay, and the faster way in doing it involves the use of a word inside a formula, okay? And that word is sum, okay? Sum or add up, okay? So I'm going to just do it. I'm going to delete that one, all my hard work. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to do, so again, what are we doing? We're doing a formula, so we always start with equals, and this time we're just going to use the word sum, okay? And then I'm going to open up some brackets, And you can see what happens straight away at the bottom is it's helping me. All right, and you can see what's it doing. Well, it's showing me what I've written already. So it's showing me sum, doesn't matter about the case, and then it's showing a bracket, and then it's got number 1, comma, number 2, number 3. So we could do this in exactly the same way. So instead of the plus sign, I could do the commas. Okay, so I'll just do the first 3. So I could go B3, comma, B4, comma, B5, okay? And what that's saying, you know, it's exactly the same thing, but we're just saying add up everything that are in the brackets, okay? But there's an even faster way of doing this, because I don't even actually think putting the comma instead of the plus is any faster whatsoever. So I wouldn't ever use this formula in this way, okay? But I'm just showing you how it works, or all possible ways of doing it. But what you can do, and this is lovely, is you can use the colon key, the 2 dots that stand on top of one another. And that means, in Excel, that means 2. So watch this, B3 to B15. And look what happens, we get the box really gets spread out, okay? And I hit return, and I get my answer straight away, £598.68. So, previously, we said B3 plus B4 plus B5. This time, we've gone, no, forget that. I want you to do B3 until B15, B3 to B15, all right? And that's all that colon means. It just means get everything in between, okay? And again, do you remember when I was mentioning that it's really nice to do things with the cursor, with the mouse? So watch this, if I do equals sum, open brackets, and then I click and I drag all the way down, look, it's written the formula for me, it's put in that colon. It's done everything for me, and then I can just close the bracket and press return. Okay, let's see what happens if I don't close the bracket. I don't know whether this version of Excel closes the bracket for me. So I'll just sum all the way down, hit return. Yeah, it did, it closed the bracket for me. Okay, so that's great, isn't it? I mean, what an easy way of adding all these things up. We put in the first digit, and we put in the last digit, cell. We put in the first cell, last cell. We put that little colon in between, and it sums. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It sums them all up. Okay. Right. So now I want to add up February's. So let's do February. We'll do this manually again. So I'm going to say equals sum. Add them all up. What do I want to add up? Remember to open the bracket. That's what you've got to do. And then I'm going to click and I'm going to drag them all again. I'm going to, drag the same range, and then I'm going to press return. Oh, look, we spent less that month. Okay, it's couch tax and a few other things. So that's great. So, but I want to take it a stage further now, and I want to look at again, because again, so am I now going to have to do this for every month? Well, let's have a look. What happens if I copy this formula? So I'm going to come up to edit, I'm going to choose copy, and then I'm going to come to this row and I'm going to choose paste. Edit, paste. Now, something interesting has happened here. You may think that if you copy and pasted this number, or this formula, that you'd get exactly the same answer in this cell. But this is where Excel is really clever, and it's working on your behalf. Okay? And what it's done, can you see that this row, okay, column C here, all right, this formula goes from C3 to C15, and it's in, the formula is in C17. Okay, we can see up here it says C17. Okay? Then I copied that formula and I pasted it. Where did I paste it? I pasted it into D17. And Excel goes, hang on a minute, if the formula's moved across one, maybe what I should add up should also move across one. And so you can see that I didn't change this, Excel changed it to D3 to D15. And it did that, and it chose this column. So just press escape. I've still got that formula copied, I think. So I'm just going to I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. I'm going to do Control, the CTRL. I'm going to hold that down and I'm going to tap the V key. I haven't got it selected. I'll manually copy it. So I'm going to do it with the keyboard shortcut. I'm going to do Control C, and I'm going to move across, and I'm going to do Control V. And look, we get a different score, a different sum again. This time, I'm going to, the reason why I didn't copy the first time was because these dotted lines, these marching ants, as they're sometimes referred to, I deselected it. Well, what about if I choose 3 cells? Can I just paste it into there? I certainly can. So this is looking easier and easier. Let's move across. So we've got August, September. We've got 5 cells left. So let me I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to delete all those. And this is the way you do it in the real world. Okay. In the real world, you'd write the formula once. You'd do copy, however you like to do it. I'll do it so that we can see it on the screen. And then I'm going to select all these rows. And I'm going to choose paste. And look at that. How easy is that? So my formula, C3 to C15, anywhere I click H3 to H15, K3 to K15, M3 to M15. Whatever the row, whatever the column, that it was put in, Excel has gone ahead and changed the formula to adapt to the column that it's now in. Now I'm going to undo that, and I'm actually going to show you the greatest thing. Probably there are greater things, but there is one really cool thing that Excel does. That once you learn, you're officially an Excel ninja. And what there is as I drag my cursor to the bottom right hand corner of a cell. What should change? At the moment, it's that it's a plus symbol, and as I go to the bottom right hand corner, it changes to a black plus symbol. Okay, so just in that look, it's a small little area, but you know you're in it when you've got the black plus symbol. All right, and watch what happens. I can click and I can hold my mouse down, and I can drag all the way to the right. Dink, and I let go, and it does it for me. When I've done that, what it's doing is Excel is going copy, paste, and it's pasting it all the way along for me. I'll just undo it and just show you one more time. So I come into the bottom right-hand corner. I have to select the cell. Notice it doesn't work if a different cell is selected. So you have to make sure you select the cell. And I grab the bottom right-hand corner, quick drag across, and boom. And that's faster than copy paste because you've still got to select the cells to paste them into. So that is it then. Excel Ninja done. You are a fully fledged Excel Ninja once you start doing that. And how quick is it? So I hope we all understand that formula. F3, so sum F3 to F15. Add up everything between F3 and F15. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for today. So what have we done? Let's have a recap of what we've done. We started out with very basic formulas. So we say equals because it's a formula. And I'll just say B4. And oh, by the way, just, I don't think people would necessarily think this, but let's just make sure they don't. You don't always have to add up vertically. Okay? B4 plus C4 plus D4. So here I'm adding up the British Telecom phone bill. Okay, and so that came to 69 for those 3. But let me just delete it. Let me just show you properly. So over at this end, let's sum up all of our council tax. Okay, how would I sum up all our council tax? Think about what you would write. So I'm going to do it, and hopefully you're thinking of the same thing. So you know that we're going to start with a formula, so we know it's going to be equals. We use that little word sum, okay, because we don't want to have to type in every single one. So we're going to say sum. And then sum what? Well, we've got to open the brackets, got to open your doors, okay? And then I'm just going to click and drag. I want to sum from this one all the way along, including the gaps when we didn't pay any council tax, and I hit return. So you can see that in 1 year there, we've paid £887.44. And now let's be Excel ninjas. and we can grab the bottom right hand corner and we can drag this down, and look at that. Here are all the totals for all of the different bills. So BT, they got £286 from us. Nationwide, ISA, look at that, we were good. We saved £1,200. So, and if we wanted to, should we have a total of totals? So in this column here, in fact, I can just drag this one across. I'll just drag this one across. And look, so our total outgoing for the year 2009 was £7,147.64 because I totaled up all of these. I could have done it another way. I could have totaled up all of these. So I could either have totaled these, but in this case I've chosen to total these. And so we get this big grand figure. And you know, remember we can do formatting, so let's put that in red and let's make it big. And let's just leave it there. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to practice doing formulas, practice working on your formulas, and practice the additions, multiplications, subtractions, and then almost more importantly than all of those, once you've got your head around the basic ideas, then move on to writing the word equals sum, open brackets, select the range, which you can do manually, or you can type in the first letter, first cell, so A1 or whatever it is, colon, A10. You can't add up text, by the way, okay? And just have a practice of that, okay? Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.